Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Metaphysical Podcast, episode 28. I am Gail.
I am Kelly.
We're going to talk about all the things going on metaphysically right now because there is a lot.
There is a lot,
So,
and
where would you like to
everyone's
start,
feeling it.
Kelly?
Huh?
Where would you like to start with everything that's going on? Well,
Um,
maybe before we do that, because we were talking about this before we came on, maybe we should talk about how we're even being affected by it, knowing
yeah,
all the things that we know,
yeah,
and that everything just seems so difficult and so monumentous and really hard to get through right now.
yeah, and everyone is feeling it in one way or another. I've had people who have I've spoken with in the last several days who have just been, why am I crying? Why am I so tired? Why do I want to eat everything in my house? Those kinds of things. And it's like, we're all feeling something. I'm feeling all of those things she was feeling,
Mhm.
but everyone is feeling something. And it's just, it really is sort of a good versus evil type energy. We've got so much upheaval on the planet, and so many people are deeply affected by that.
Mhm.
I am a member of several multinational animal rights and animal rescue organizations. So I'm getting it 24/7. People in Europe are telling me in the middle of the night, that it's what's going on in Ukraine with the animal situation. And I just can't.
Mhm.
I can't. I had to check those notifications off of my phone and not take my phone into the bedroom at night because it is literally going in, it's going off crazy all the time.
Mhm.
Um, this morning, I slept late, which I never do, but I got up and I had 117 notifications, and it's just crazy. These
Mhm.
people are overwhelmed. So, because they're overwhelmed, they're reaching out to their membership and they're just overwhelming everybody. Let's all be overwhelmed together. And I think that's whether you're a member of a large organization or several or not, you're still feeling it from the collective.
Mhm.
It's it's overwhelm, it's tiredness, it's a sense of, you know, what is going on, what now. And yeah, everybody is feeling it.
It's tough. It's just, and still working in the behavioral health field or the mental health field, however you would like to refer to it, just trying to navigate everything can be really difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I have friends who are in the medical fields, and they've been overwhelmed for years now, but they're feeling it too. And I think that's interesting. Anytime I hear someone who is a nurse or a doctor or a caregiver of some kind talk to me about things that they've sworn up and down they don't believe in, I find it really interesting. you know, um, I have someone who's known for decades, lovely person, doesn't buy into anything metaphysical. There is a scientific explanation, always a scientific explanation. And he no longer thinks that way because of things that have happened lately. And I think really that's a big piece of this energy
Hmm.
is to help wake people up.
Hmm.
Some people don't wake up gently. You have to really shake them. And maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, it's just been really interesting. Every week I expect or I hope that things get better. And then every week I am surprised when they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, things that my guides tell me, is, and, I think this will tie in with what you wanted to talk about is have patience.
Yep. Yep. Good old hurry up and wait. Patience has never been my strong suit. I am not a terribly patient person.
Uh-huh.
In some areas, though, I really am. And what my guides have shown me lately is I will argue with them. I've always argued with them. They find me fascinating because I do that.
Mhm.
It's I don't want to be patient. I've put this much time and effort into getting where I am. I feel like I've done enough. I feel like I shouldn't have to be patient. And then will show me a picture of me patiently coaxing a puppy to eat, a motherless puppy who's
Mhm.
I'm trying to keep alive. And they're saying, you are patient. Well, that's different. You know, so I think all of us, we have it in us. We don't just, there are certain things I'm certainly not patient about.
Mhm.
And that's where the work is trying to find a way to wait it out and be patient. Um, one of the things that I have been told lately is people are very upset
Mhm.
as a whole. And what we need to be doing is taking a giant step back from the drama, from the situation, not completely forgetting about it, not saying, I don't care about it, but take a big step back and give ourselves a mental timeout, a mental break, because you can't be immersed in anything like that 24/7 and not have it have a horrible impact on your life in some way.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people are having what I've been told is adrenal fatigue,
Mhm.
uh, going and going and going and going and going and worrying and worrying and worrying and caring and what can I do? And we've driven ourselves kind of a little bit over the edge. And we need to take a step back now and say, okay, it's time for me. What do I need to do for me?
Okay.
Don't worry about animals on the other side of the planet right now. What do I need for me? And that's really hard for me to do.
Well, how do you do that? And this is really interesting. How do you do that when you see the images and you see the pictures and you hear what's going on and there's people who are just in the thick of horrible, unspeakable things? How do you take time to take care of yourself?
And that is the issue, is
Mhm.
how do you do that? I tried, just going outside and sitting,
Mhm.
and instead of having my cup of coffee in the morning in the house, I would go outside and either sit on the porch swing or on the benches or
Mhm.
somewhere, and that does help for a while for
Mhm.
me. But then I will watch something. I'll watch a cat chasing a bird or the dog's playing, and I'll go, there are animals on the other side of the planet right now that I can't even do that. And then I'm right back in the middle of it. So I've been good at giving myself tiny little breaks, but we need better. We need, each and every one of us needs to get in touch with ourselves and say, look, what do I need right now?
Mhm.
And maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's taking a bath, maybe it's talking to a friend, but you need something to kind of let you feel like you're still alive.
It reminds me, and I always used to tell the clients when I was counseling, put your own oxygen mask on first before assisting others. Because if you pass out, you're not going to be of any help to anybody. So, I mean, I think that's basically what you're saying here is what do you need to do so that you don't pass out? And when the time comes for you to help, are you going to have the energy and the fortitude that you're going to need in order to do that?
And I think each and every one of us who is even slightly remotely awake and sensitive has a particular thing we need to do
Hmm.
for the planet, for everyone. Um, it's not everyone has the same job.
Hmm.
We're not cookie cutters. We're all uniquely different. And in the past, I've been really drawn to children in a situation.
Hmm.
And when I'm finding this time, and at first I was sort of, well, I mean, that makes sense, but why? I'm being drawn to the animals crisis that is over there. And all of the groups that I am connected with are doing and have done so many incredible rescue missions. But still, there is more that can be done. And I know someone out there saying, but what about the people? Yes, other people are taking care of the people. Each one of us has a different thing that we are being asked to do right now. And literally, I was awoken in the middle of the night with someone saying, you need to work on the animal situation. So what I suggest to everyone
You know,
is,
and it's funny, I don't mean to cut you off, but, like, I was told to just keep drawing mandalas,
mhm,
putting them out in the world for the frequency and the vibration and sending healing and stuff. So, we each have our different things. Some people
yeah,
prefer prayer, some people prefer donating money, some people prefer a lot of different things. One of our viewers just said it's been a really rough couple of weeks helping souls cross over and hearing all the horror stories I've been told. Then several days later, the info I previously heard comes out in the mainstream news.
yep,
And I think that's really difficult when you're sensitive and you're on the front lines energetically, so to speak. And you're hearing about the things and you start talking to people about it, and they're like, that hasn't happened. What are you talking about? And you're
but
like, no, it has. You just haven't heard about it yet. And it's
yeah,
like you start to doubt yourself that, am I really hearing these things? Is my mind playing tricks on me? What is really going on? And I think the biggest lesson in some of this is, how do you trust yourself with the information that you're getting?
right. And that's the animal thing shook me up, even though I've been an animal rescuer my entire life. At a distance, I've always worked with people.
Mhm,
And for this to be a thing I was called to do,
mhm.
I was like, well, that can't be right. Who are you? Well, I need some proof. Give me your ID. I mean, I was just, no, that doesn't resonate with me at all. But then when I stopped arguing, I realized it really did.
Mhm.
I think that happens with a lot of us. We want to do things our way. And sometimes when you're called up to be on the energetic front lines, it is really important that you realize you have a unique thing that only you can do.
Mhm.
And that person next to you has a unique thing only they can do. It's not a competition on who helps what, when, where. It's everybody has to work together. This is sort of where that concept, if we're all connected, comes in.
Mhm.
That one concept everyone talks about. This is that concept in practice.
The other thing I wanted to address in our viewers, what she wrote is that you can also have stress reactions and almost like PTSD reactions, even though you're not seeing it physically, you're still seeing it, you're still experiencing their pain, you're still experiencing their feelings. So I think it's really important that you acknowledge that part as well and realize that you're having a response to their response,
Right.
and that's going to cause stress, and that's going to cause tears, and that's going to cause pain. A lot like first responders in the physical world have to deal with. On an energetic level, if you're the one seeing all that, you're going to have a very similar reaction to it.
Yeah.
So it's just acknowledging that and being kind to yourself.
Yeah, and I think right now that's kind of the hard thing for people to do is so many people are so worried about what somebody else is going through. You really do have to take care of yourself first.
Our viewer said, ironically, the PTSD hit last week one day and I had a meltdown. My guides just told me I needed to go to bed and rest.
Yep.
Because again, if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, you're not going to be of any help to anybody else because you won't have anything else to give.
Yep. That rest thing has been a really common thing in the last week or so with a lot of people. I live in a farming community, so we're usually up at, oh dark 30. And lately, everyone I have come in contact with out here has said, I slept until 6:30 the other one. I slept until 7 the other one. Well, I slept until 8 this morning, and that never happens.
Mhm.
So I think it's a lot of collective exhaustion
Well,
that we're feeling.
I completely agree. And we were talking about this a little bit before, is that a lot of people right now are also getting, well, let's call them energetic upgrades
Yeah.
or downloads. It's like I was asking a friend of mine who's very intuitive, because sometimes we need people to go to too. I'm like, how many weekends am I going to have to just sit and do nothing so that they can continue to give me these downloads that I need in order to help with what I'm supposed to do, be doing? And she's like, a while longer. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
know
"Well,
what I hear.
I'd like to do some other things on the weekend other than just sit here and get downloads. So, she's like, nope, that's how it's going to be for a while. And I'm like, okay.
Yep. And it's hitting different people differently, of course, like it would. But the thing that has amazed me, people I've spoken with lately, is how many people have told me, I just came in the house and I sat down and I stared at a blank TV screen for 3 hours till I fell asleep. And that's what people are doing. And I've heard that from more than a couple of people.
Because whether we want to talk about it or not, everyone in the world is having a stress reaction
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
what is going on. And there's feelings of helplessness and there's feelings of hopelessness. And there are feelings like, what am I supposed to do? What can I contribute? How can I help? And that constant state of stress wears and tears on our bodies, that our bodies need a chance to recuperate as well.
Right. And even more than our bodies, our hearts need
Mhm.
time. I've seen so many kids crying lately, just because of what they see on TV. And I have asked people with small children, please don't watch the news or make sure they're out of the room because it really does affect kids. But I've had friends that have called me and say, I don't know what to do. My granddaughter is crying. She's sobbing. What do I do? Well, what's wrong with her? What is she? Is she hurt? Is she sick? And no, they were talking about Ukraine in the kitchen. The adults were, and she heard it and freaked out. Well, this is a time to be particularly mindful of
Uh-huh.
that if you're around small children.
Yeah, and it's so much to pay attention to right now. There's so much going on so many different levels. And I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but we're going to go there. So I hope it's okay with you.
Sure.
One of the things that's also happening is, we're still in duality. We haven't moved completely out of it yet, although we're trying really hard to shift to the fifth dimension. But duality is really holding on. So there's a lot of, we'll use the word negativity
Yeah.
around that's really trying to, oh, a huge orb just went over my head as I said that. Um, Maybe we should use that as a predictor of how we're talking, how many orbs fly over my head. Um, is, you know, that it's affecting everyone. Like, I don't know if anyone is seeing out of their eyes like flashes that seem darker than you normally see, or like if you're outside, like something goes by you really fast, but you don't see anything. Because I think it's really important to educate people on that right now, because it can lead to you feeling kind of crazy.
Yeah. 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 It's sometimes it can be very subtle.
Hmm.
Other times it's really right in your face.
Hmm.
Um, I walked down the road. I knew better. I walked down the road to a neighbor's last night, well, early evening, and I would the whole time there's something like a shadow person pacing me down all the way down the road, and that's prevalent right now, and it's not just for people who are very sensitive.
Hmm.
People who have previously disavowed any belief whatsoever in anything of this sort have come to me lately and go, okay, so like, I've never seen this before, but there's like a shadow person in my car seat. When I'm driving next to me, there's like should I be afraid of that? Well, you're seeing it. So apparently you've had some kind of awakening because you wouldn't see it otherwise. But it
That
is,
and smell. Like,
yeah.
I've been getting a lot of, like, different scents just
Mhm.
in my, apartment. I'm like, "Huh, normally that's not one of my strongest senses," but boy, it's been on fire the last couple of weeks of just, and I'll walk by, I'm like, "There is no one else in here. Where is that coming from?" And it's not scents that are familiar to me because, like, in the past, it would be like cigarette smoke, and it
Right,
would be my mom, or it would
right.
be my dad's cologne. It's none of those things. It's just random scents.
Yeah. Some of those scents, I'm told, may be something you're picking up from a battlefield or from people running to get away from shelling.
Mhm.
They may be on a spiritual level that you're smelling rather than a physical. And I know earlier this morning when I was trying to meditate, I kept hearing dogs barking and people screaming and dogs barking and people screaming. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at my dogs and they're sleeping. So, and that's what it was for me. It was me tapping into, the drama that's going on, that's unfolding over there.
And when and everyone's like, stay grounded. I'm like, I don't want to be grounded right now. The more I'm grounded, the more I feel, the more I see, the more messages I get, the more it's like I'd like to be disconnected right now, but I'm
Yep.
I'm not. I mean, I'm still very connected, which is why it's all happening, but it's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a young person call me earlier today and say, so you tell me I've had these gifts probably all of my life. I'd like to know why, when the world is ending, I am embracing them. Why am I awake right now? Why now? And I think that's what a lot of people feel.
Mhm.
Anyone who is into, really, can I turn this off for a little bit? But no, we can't.
Well, because they need us to all be tuned into us in order for us to be successful with
Right.
whatever we decide to do as a consciousness, because right now I think it's a little up in the air.
It's a battle.
Mhm.
It really is a battle. There are so many of us who are awake and are ready to move forward, and yet there seem to be an equal amount, and that's the problem. It's an equal amount of people who are sleeping, and they're contently sleeping. They have no inkling that they should be doing anything else. And I think it's just going to get a lot more intense, which is going to be really hard on all of us. But it's going to become a lot more intense as we move forward.
Mhm. So, those of you who are watching us live, do you have any comments or questions about the things that we're talking about right now? Or do you have anything that you would like us to talk about? Please put it in the comment section and we will do our best to answer it. Um, I think for me, it's all about just doing your part, and sometimes doing your part is just holding space for other people who are having a difficult time or going
Right.
through a lot, because everyone needs somebody to go to.
Right.
And so sometimes when you have a lot of spiritual gifts or you have a lot of abilities, you're the one that people goes to, or people go to, not
Yep.
go to. And if you're going to speak, then use regular English words. Um, and sometimes that's a lot to carry and hold too.
Yeah.
When you're the one that everyone's looking to see what to do or what guidance or how to manage, or and I'm glad to be helpful in that way.
Yeah.
And it's also about boundaries and self-care.
Boundaries big time right now.
Hmm.
Um, there, there's a large contingent of people in each of our lives who really don't like the way this is going. They really don't want to have any belief in anything. They just want to blame and throw hate out there and be divisive. And that's what's keeping all of us kind of, I feel like some days I'm in limbo.
Hmm.
It's like, I'm up here, I'm down here, I'm over there, I'm where am I? And all while being tethered to the earth, which is really interesting. Um, but there's going to be a lot more of that. And it's going to be the job of every one of us individually to call that out.
Hmm.
I have a wonderful friend, great guy, known him forever. All of a sudden on Facebook, he's posting hatred and vile and all of these horrible things. And I'm like, what happened to you? He said,
Hmm.
well, I'm tired of just holding space. Somebody needs to do something. Well, that's the wrong approach. Love will always win in the end. Promise. It always will.
So will light. Light will always win in the
Yep.
as well. And some of what that's one of the issues that's happening right now on the planet is as we've become more light filled, it's illuminated the darkness that's always been there, which is what
Right.
we're seeing right now. It's not that it's any, I mean, there are worse things right now, but it's always been there.
Yeah.
It's just there wasn't enough light to fully see it till now.
And
That's my deep thought for today.
right. Well, we have to make sure that we are coming from the light.
Mhm.
Um,
How do
lately,
you know? How do you
well,
know when you're coming from the light?
lately, a lot of people have come to me and said, "Well, I just can't stand this. I'm just going to go shoot someone." And I'm like, "And I will visit you in jail? What do you want? What kind of response do you want from me when you're telling me this?" And that's not coming from the light. When you're trying to hurt someone else. Even when you're saying you feel like hurting someone else, that's really not a good place to be coming from. And I know it's so tempting. It is so tempting. But you just can't do that. It's not going to help. Ultimately, it's not going to help the cause.
Mhm.
It's going to keep us stagnant. And at this point, those of us who are on the front line energetically, we feel it when you guys do that. It creates a ripple
Mhm.
throughout everything. And we know that someone is doing something on the dark side and they've always been on the light side. You feel that when you wake up enough. Some days I wish I could go back to sleep, but then I could do that. But stay in the light, especially right now. There's so much negativity. There's so much hate. There's so much, well, the war, for example. Um, there's so much going on that it is even more important than it has ever been for everyone to come from a place of love and light.
Mhm.
Just don't give in to that. I believe me, I know it's tempting. Just don't do it. Don't fall into that trap.
And I think too, we could add love, light, peace, and grace.
Hmm.
Because sometimes sending more light in situations just illuminates all of it. Sometimes a choice can be to just send peace or
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
or for the highest good of all, as opposed to actually sending more light. 'Cause sometimes and I know that sounds like it shouldn't be that way, but sometimes you can illuminate things too much, and
Or too quickly. Yeah.
that can become an issue.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I have a friend who has grandchildren in the Ukraine,
Mhm.
and she was just there last month.
Okay.
And it's the before and after pictures, the pictures that I have seen of where her kids live and where her grandkids are. And it's such a beautiful city, and they have a beautiful backyard and great pets and a wonderful, loving family. And my heart goes out to them because right now she has not heard from them since it started. She does not know if her family is alive. And you know how gut wrenching that is. And when you have all this hurt and this pain and this torture and torment, it's really hard to say, I'm going to send peace, I'm going to send love, I'm going to stay in a loving place. I need peace within me. It's hard, and it's a big job,
Mhm.
but we would not have been chosen for it if we weren't up to it. And we just have to stick together and stay in that space.
And it
Yeah,
is extremely hard to stay in.
it is.
Mhm.
Yep. But stay there we must.
I feel like we're kind of like an episode of Star Wars, good versus evil. And I always think of that scene. I think it's in the first Star Wars movie where they like stay on target, stay on target, stay on target. Or I think of the scene from Finding Nemo, keep on swimming, 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 keep on swimming.
Yep.
And so sometimes it's as little as those kinds of things that can help you stay on track. Sometimes it's the little things you're going to do or remind yourself of, or that bring a smile or something like that that can shift things really
Yeah.
quickly. In DBT therapy, there's a concept and a skill that you teach people called opposite to emotion action. You teach people to do the opposite of what they're feeling so that your brain starts to work that way. And I feel like as a society, that's what we need to do. We all need to work on opposite to emotion action and turn love into hate or hate into love. Ooh, that was interesting. Or
Freudian.
hate into peace. Yeah.
And I think they're showing cartoons on a movie screen where I am, and I think that's just the best idea ever because we do need levity. We need humor. We need laughter. And maybe we should all go watch cartoons on a movie screen. I don't know. Um, but it's really important to be mindful of how we're thinking. Uh,
Mhm.
when thoughts go through our heads all the time, and it's really difficult for a lot of people to even know where their head's at.
Mhm.
I've spoken to many people in the last week, and it's like, yeah, I'm not really thinking at all right now. And it's like, you are, you just don't realize what you're thinking.
Exactly.
And staying in the moment and staying centered, more so even than grounded.
Mhm.
Uh, it's important to be centered right now. So many people are waking up and all of a sudden they're seeing things and they're hearing voices that they're having experiences they never had before. And I think we're going to see more of that as well as people wake up. And um, sometimes I'm glad that I didn't wake up in the middle of, the end of the world. but there are a lot of people doing that. And it's not the end of the world. Don't read too much into that. That's a lot going on for sure.
Maybe the end of duality, but not the end of the world.
Well, end of duality would be good. That would be
Mhm.
it. Um, but people are really playing into it right now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's you know, like when you like I feel very blessed by a lot of the gifts that I have and some of the abilities. And I think about the scene from X-Men when Patrick Stewart puts his helmet on and like all the people who have talents and gifts light up on this grid in the screen in front of him. And I very much see the world like that. Like I used to see it that way before that movie even came out. And like I could see all the people in the world who had gifts and abilities, they would light up one color. The people who were really negative or struggling lit up as a different color, you know, and then like the ley lines of the earth and things like that. And, it's just really interesting. It's like, how do you learn to become, and I have, but how do you learn when you're first starting to see that stuff to become okay with it and to realize that it's there to give you information to help you do the things that you're meant to be doing?
I think being being open-minded
Mm.
is key because I've coached a lot of people through a spiritual journey where all of a sudden they're going along and they're going, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. What's that? You have to stay open-minded
Uh-huh.
because you're studying.
Mhm.
And it amazes me how many people start a spiritual journey and not realizing they're ever going to see anything.
You mean it actually have the spiritual journey that they started to have, and then they don't know what to do with it?
And they don't know. It's like, "But this is what you wanted. Well, I didn't want that. But we have to stay open-minded to things, even seeing the dark,
Mhm,
especially seeing the dark right now, because we need to be conscious
mhm.
that it's there and it can really derail us.
Yeah.
We don't want to be derailed.
I think you just have to decide what your focus is gonna be,
Mhm.
because it's really hard to use light and dark as a jump rope.
Yeah, many people do.
I know, but you really kinda need to pick a side.
And you really got to pick a side. And there is darkness in everyone. Everyone has a dark side. No matter how enlightened you ever become, you will always have a dark side. And that is not what we're talking about. Um, it's interesting. So many gurus right now are spewing some really concerning words. And it proves to me that anyone can be influenced by darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to take it more serious than that.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a position like we are to
Mm-hmm.
have people listen to us and go to us for things, you need to really be aware
Mm-hmm.
of where you're coming from. It's not it's not even optional for us. It's like you will pick a side, you will stay on that side, and you will do your job. And it gets sorry. Yeah.
We are warriors. We are warriors of the light.
Yes. Not the checkerboard.
Or I like to say warriors of the rainbow light.
Yeah.
There's so many different frequencies to light. So you okay?
Yeah, I was outside too much today.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've been talking too much today.
Yeah, and and I think that one of the things that's come up for you as we've done these shows is that sometimes you'll start coughing when you need to say something and you're not sure you really want to say it.
Yeah, and that happens.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't happened like this in a while,
Yeah.
but I think I was outside all day too, and that's playing into it. But we really do need to pick a side.
Hmm.
And I've just seen so many people that are supposed to be these great enlightened teachers
Hmm.
lately say such really, really, really hateful things.
Hmm.
And not only to a select group of people that know them, but like on social media. And it's very, very, very concerning because I know how many people follow them and really kind of hold them up on a pedestal,
Hmm.
which we should never ever do with anybody. But anyway, they do. And it really bothers me because even as far down on the totem pole as I like to think I am, I could be wrong, but I have to be very careful what I say.
Hmm.
And I took that on myself
Hmm.
because I think it's important if you are in a role where you have put yourself out there as these are things that I know and these are things that I want to talk about and these are things that I can teach. You can't teach the light by standing in the dark. And I think right now that's what a lot of people are doing.
Hmm.
And it really does bother me deeply.
It's so funny because they just showed me an image of people straddling. One side, their foot is on white, the other
Yep,
side, their foot is on black, and
yep.
down the middle, it's kind of a gray color. And they're straddling it, going, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm staying right where I am.
And
So just interesting. It's quite the visual.
yeah. And there is a school of thought that says maybe the situation in Ukraine would be best served by no one doing anything and letting it play out. I've heard several people talk about that.
Mm.
I don't agree with it, but I've heard people talk about that. I think any situation can only be helped by sending love
Mhm.
and sending peace and sending for your highest good. I think sitting back and doing nothing is exactly what led to this war in the first place. And I think it is our duty to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong. I'm gonna send some good vibes to these people to help them.
Mhm.
And good vibes to Putin too, to open his heart. I know that's a controversial stance,
Is there anything else you want to cover today?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Then let's call this one an episode. And we will see you guys all again next week. Again, if any questions or topics come up that you want us to talk about on future shows, just reach out to Kelly or myself and we will make sure to include them. Everybody have a great rest of your evening and we will see you guys all again next week. Bye for now.